The great dome of the Galactic Council stretched high above the meeting chamber. Light from 3 different suns streamed through the crystal walls, casting rainbow colors on the floor. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their special chairs, each one designed for their unique bodies. Elder Vexithara stood in the shadows near the back wall. The ancient being looked like a walking crystal tree, with branches that glowed soft blue. Vexithara was old, even by the standards of the long-lived Kethmori people. The elder had seen 1,000 years pass, had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. Today, the council was discussing boring things, trade routes between star systems, who could mine asteroids where, which species had to pay taxes to which other species. Vexithara had heard these same arguments for centuries. But then something changed. A young officer from the Caraxian Empire stood up. His name was Commander Zeftal, and his reptilian scales gleamed green under the dome lights. He held up a datapad and spoke in his harsh, grating voice. "The exploration fleet has found a new species," Zeftal announced. "They live on a small blue planet in the outer spiral arm. They call themselves humans." The chamber filled with the sounds of different species talking to each other. Some clicked their mandibles. Others made whistling sounds. A few growled low in their throats. New species were always interesting news. Zeftal continued his report. "These humans are weak creatures. They have no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Their skin is soft and tears easily. They have no armor plating or scales. They cannot breathe underwater or survive in space without suits. They have only just learned to travel between stars, and their ships are slow and primitive." Many representatives laughed at this description. The sound echoed strangely in the dome, mixing the laughter of dozens of different species. High Chancellor Quilneth rose from her throne-like chair. She was 12 feet tall, with 6 arms and a head like a giant ant. Her voice buzzed when she spoke. "These humans sound harmless. Perhaps they will make good servants for more advanced species." More laughter filled the chamber. Several representatives nodded their heads or whatever body parts they used to show agreement. But Elder Vexithara felt a chill run through her crystal body. The description of these humans stirred old memories, ancient fears that she had hoped never to face again. She stepped forward from the shadows. "You do not understand what you are dealing with," Vexithara said. Her voice was like music, with harmonic tones that made everyone stop talking and listen. Commander Zeftal turned to look at the elder. "What do you mean, Ancient One? These creatures are clearly inferior. They pose no threat to anyone." Vexithara's crystal branches began to glow brighter. "My people encountered their kind before, long ago in the Andromeda Galaxy. We called them the Endless Tide." "Endless Tide?" High Chancellor Quilneth buzzed. "You mean they had large numbers?" "No," Vexithara replied. "We called them that because they never stopped coming. No matter how many times we defeated them, they came back. No matter how badly we hurt them, they learned from it and became stronger." The chamber grew quiet. Even the background hum of the life support system seemed to fade. Zeftal laughed, but it sounded forced. "Elder, with respect, you speak of legends, stories told to children. These humans are real, and they are weak. Look at the evidence." He held up his datapad again. "They fight each other constantly on their own planet. They pollute their own air and water. They cannot even agree on simple things. How could such creatures be dangerous to us?" Other representatives began to murmur agreement. The fear that Vexithara's words had created started to fade. But the elder pressed on. "That is exactly why they are dangerous. They fight each other because they are always learning how to fight better. They solve problems by trying many different solutions. They never give up, even when giving up would be smart." "Surely you exaggerate," said Ambassador Krelmoth, a slug-like being who spoke through slime bubbles. "No species can be truly unstoppable." Vexithara's glow dimmed as she accessed memories from centuries past. "In Andromeda, we fought them for 300 years. We won every major battle. We controlled every important planet. Our technology was far superior to theirs. Our strategy was perfect. We should have crushed them in the first decade. But you did not. Chancellor Quilneth asked, her antenna twitching with curiosity. No. Every time we defeated them, they studied how we did it. Every time we destroyed their fleets, they built new ones that were harder to destroy. Every time we conquered one of their worlds, they learned better ways to defend the others. They turned our victories into their education. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the artificial gravity seemed to hold its breath. What happened in the end? Whispered a small, furry representative from the Talaxian Union. We made peace, Vexthara said simply. We realized that we had two choices. We could spend forever trying to defeat them, watching them grow stronger with each defeat, or we could learn to live with them as equals. Commander Zeftal slammed his fist on his desk. This is foolish talk. The humans we have found are primitives. They barely have space travel. They have no weapons that could threaten a modern starship. The Elder speaks of myths and legends, not reality. Many representatives nodded agreement. The practical here and now facts seemed more believable than ancient stories. Vexithera sighed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. You see only what they are now, not what they will become. Humans do not stay primitive. They change faster than any species I have ever encountered. Change how? Asked Chancellor Quilneth. They adapt. If you show them a better tool, they will build an even better one. If you teach them a new way to fight, they will invent 3 ways to fight better. If you give them a problem they cannot solve, they will find a way to change the problem itself. Zeftal's scales rattled with annoyance. Even if this were true, they are too far away to matter. They live on the edge of nowhere. It will be centuries before they could reach our core worlds if they ever do. Distance means nothing to them, Vexthara warned. In Andromeda, we thought the same thing. We believed their small, slow ships could never threaten our mighty empire. But humans do not think like we do. They do not see a vast distance and say it is impossible to cross. They see it and ask how long it will take. The Elder's crystal body pulsed with urgent light. I beg you, honored representatives, listen to this warning. If you choose to fight these humans, you will not destroy them. You will only teach them how to destroy you. The only way to deal with humans is to make them your friends or to leave them alone entirely. But the moment of fear had passed. The representatives were already turning back to their normal business. Commander Zeftal was putting away his datapad. Chancellor Quilneth was calling for the next item on the meeting agenda. The Elder's concerns are noted for the record, Quilneth buzzed. Now, shall we discuss the mining rights dispute between the Vegan colonies and the Centauri Federation? Elder Vexithera stepped back into the shadows. She had tried to warn them. She had shared the hard-learned wisdom of her people. But they would not listen. They saw only weak, primitive humans living far away on a small blue planet. They did not see the storm that was coming. As the council moved on to other business, Vexthara made a private note in her personal files. The date, the time, and a simple message. The warning was given. They chose not to hear it. May the galaxy forgive us for what happens next. The ancient being stood quietly in the shadows, watching the representatives argue about trade routes and mining rights. None of them understood that they had just made the most dangerous decision in galactic history. They had decided to ignore the humans. Captain Thanacor stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the small human vessel on his main screen. The ship looked pathetic compared to his mighty dreadnought. His vessel was 5 miles long, covered in armor plating that could stop asteroid impacts. Weapon ports dotted its hull like angry eyes. The human ship was tiny by comparison, maybe the size of his shuttle bay. Look at that piece of junk, laughed Lieutenant Vexcar from the weapons station. It has hull patches everywhere. The engine housing looks like they built it from spare parts. Thanacor nodded his massive reptilian head. 3 months had passed since the council meeting where that old crystal creature had tried to scare everyone with ancient stories. But here was reality. These humans were exactly what Commander Zeftal had described. Weak, primitive, and easy to crush. Open communications, Thanacor ordered. The face of a human female appeared on his screen. She had short brown hair and wore a simple blue uniform. Her skin looked soft and fragile. No scales, no natural armor, no visible weapons. Thanakor could probably tear her apart with his bare claws. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Persistence," the human said. Her voice was calm, but Thanakor could hear the fear underneath. Good. Fear made species easier to control. "I am Captain Thanakor of the Caraxian Imperial Fleet," he growled. "You have entered Caraxian space without permission. This is a serious crime." The human woman looked confused. "I'm sorry, but we had no idea this was claimed territory. Our star charts show this region as unexplored space. We're just conducting a scientific survey of the Kepler mining colony." Thanakor's laugh was like grinding stones. "Ignorance is not an excuse, human. You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your crew will be taken as prisoners. Your technology will be studied and absorbed into the Caraxian Empire." Captain Chen's face hardened slightly. "Captain, we're explorers, not conquerors. We'll gladly leave your space if you'll just tell us the boundaries. We don't want any trouble." "Trouble?" Thanakor roared. "You are trouble, human. You exist, without permission from your superiors. You fly through space without proper authority. You dare to speak to a Caraxian captain as if you were equals." The human captain took a deep breath. "We're not your subjects, Captain. We're citizens of Earth, representing humanity in peaceful exploration. We won't surrender our ship, but we will leave your territory immediately." Thanakor could not believe what he was hearing. This tiny, weak creature was refusing to submit. Species with 10 times more firepower had surrendered immediately when faced with a Caraxian dreadnought. What made these humans think they could defy him? "You misunderstand your situation," Thanakor said slowly. "You have no choice in this matter. Look at your sensors. My ship has enough firepower to destroy a moon. Your pathetic vessel has weapons. That might scratch my paint." Captain Chen looked at someone off-screen, probably checking their tactical displays. When she turned back, her jaw was set in a firm line. "You're right about our firepower," she admitted. "You could destroy us easily, but that doesn't give you the right to do it. And it doesn't mean we'll just give up without a fight." "A fight?" Lieutenant Vexkar burst into laughter. "Captain, shall I show them what a real fight looks like?" Thanakor was about to give the order when the human captain spoke again. "Captain Thanakor, I want you to understand something. If you attack us, you'll win this battle easily. But you'll also be making a big mistake." "What mistake?" Thanakor asked, curious despite himself. "You'll be showing humanity exactly what we're up against," Chen said quietly. "Every detail of your ship, your weapons, your tactics. My crew will record everything right up until the moment we die, and that information will make it back to Earth." Thanakor laughed again. "So, let your people know how easily we destroyed you. It will make them fear us." Captain Chen shook her head. "No, it won't. It will teach them how to beat you." "Impossible," Vexkar shouted. "You're primitives. You can't match Caraxian military technology." The human captain looked sad rather than afraid. "Maybe not today. But humans learn fast. We'll study every weapon you use on us. We'll analyze every tactical move you make. We'll figure out your weaknesses and build ships specifically designed to exploit them." "Your threats are amusing," Thanakor said. "But empty. Fire the plasma cannons, end this." The bridge of the Persistence lit up like a star as the Caraxian weapons struck. The human shields lasted maybe 10 seconds before failing completely. The hull began to crack and burn. Atmosphere vented into space through dozens of holes. But even as her ship died around her, Captain Chen never stopped working. Her crew continued to scan the Caraxian vessel, recording every energy signature, every weapon frequency, every tactical pattern. The bridge was filling with smoke, but she kept talking into her communication device. "This is Captain Chen. Final log entry. We are under attack by a Caraxian dreadnought. Sending all tactical data now. The enemy uses plasma-based weapons with a frequency of..." Her voice was cut off as another blast tore through the bridge. Thanakor watched the human ship break apart. pieces of metal and technology scattered in all directions. There were no escape pods, no survivors. The humans had fought until the very end, recording everything even as they died. Well, that was easy, Lieutenant Vexikar said. The Elder's warnings were complete nonsense. These humans are no threat to anyone. But Captain Thanakor felt strangely uneasy as he watched the debris field. Something about the human captain's final words bothered him. She had not begged for mercy or tried to bargain for her crew's lives. Instead, she had focused entirely on gathering information. "Sir?" Vexkar said. "Shall we return to base?" "Yes," Thanakor replied. But he ordered the ship's computers to make a complete record of the engagement. Something told him this would not be the last time the Caraxian Empire heard from humanity. He was right, but not in the way he expected. 6 months later, Thanakor was drinking victory ale in the officers' mess when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. He rushed to the bridge to find chaos. Dozens of ships were approaching the Caraxian border, and they were definitely human. But these were not like the Persistence. These ships were sleek and deadly-looking. Their energy signatures showed advanced technology that should have taken decades to develop. Most disturbing of all, their formation and tactics seemed specifically designed to counter Caraxian advantages. "How is this possible?" Admiral Krikstar demanded over the communication system. "Our intelligence said the humans were primitives." Thanakor stared at the tactical display with growing horror. Every single human ship was designed to fight Caraxian vessels. Their hulls were built to resist plasma weapons. Their shields used frequencies that deflected Caraxian energy blasts. Their weapons targeted the exact weak points in Caraxian armor. "They learned," Thanakor whispered. "The human captain said they would learn, and they did." The lead human ship opened communications. The face that appeared on screen looked familiar. It was an older human male, but he had the same determined expression as Captain Chen. "I am Admiral Marcus Chen," the human said. "I believe you killed my sister." Thanakor's blood turned to ice. This was not going to be a negotiation. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, half the Caraxian fleet was destroyed or crippled. The humans had fought with precision and fury that defied explanation. They knew exactly where to hit, exactly when to strike, exactly how to turn Caraxian strengths into weaknesses. As his own ship burned around him, Thanakor managed to send one final message to the Caraxian home fleet. "Do not underestimate them," he gasped into his communicator. "They learn from everything. They never forget. They never forgive." The message was received, but like Elder Vexithera's warning months earlier, it came too late to change anything. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you taught humans how to fight. News of the Caraxian defeat spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. In trading posts and diplomatic stations across 100 star systems, beings who had never heard of humans suddenly knew their name. The impossible had happened. A primitive species had destroyed an entire Caraxian battle fleet. Ambassador Krelmoth slithered into the emergency council session, his slug-like body leaving a trail of nervous slime. "This cannot be accurate," he bubbled through his breathing holes. "The reports must be wrong. Humans destroyed 17 Caraxian warships? Impossible." But High Chancellor Quilneth had the verified battle recordings displayed on the main screen. Her 6 arms moved restlessly as she processed the information. "The evidence is clear, Ambassador. These humans have somehow developed advanced military technology in just 6 months. Their ships show capabilities that should have taken decades to achieve." Elder Vexithera stood quietly in her usual spot near the back wall. Her crystal branches glowed with a dim, steady light that might have been satisfaction or sadness. The other representatives were finally seeing what she had tried to warn them about, but the lesson was coming at a terrible price. "How did they advance so quickly?" demanded General Thorax of the Insectoid Collective. His compound eyes reflected the battle images as human ships tore through Caraxian formations. 6 months ago, they had primitive chemical rockets. Now they field weapons that can penetrate military-grade armor. Elder Vexithara finally spoke, her musical voice cutting through the worried chatter. "They did what humans always do. They learned." But learning takes time, protested Ambassador Krelmoth. Technological development follows natural laws. You cannot simply jump from primitive to advanced overnight. You can, if you are willing to sacrifice everything for knowledge, Vexithara replied. When the Caraxians destroyed that first human ship, they provided a complete tactical analysis of their capabilities. Every weapon signature, every defense frequency, every tactical pattern. The humans took that information and redesigned their entire approach to warfare. The recordings showed human ships moving with deadly precision. Their formations were perfect, counters to Caraxian tactics. Their weapons targeted specific weak points in Caraxian armor designs. It was as if they had studied Caraxian military doctrine for years, instead of months. This Admiral Chen, Chancellor Quilneth buzzed, reviewing the communication logs. He said he was avenging his sister, the captain who died in the first encounter. Revenge, whispered Representative Zilthar of the aquatic domains. They are motivated by revenge. No, Elder Vexthera corrected gently. They are motivated by something much more dangerous than revenge. They are motivated by the absolute refusal to let the same thing happen again. The chamber fell silent as beings processed this distinction. Explain, ordered Chancellor Quilneth. Vexithara's crystal form brightened as she accessed ancient memories. Revenge seeks to cause equal pain, but humans seek to prevent future pain. When they lost that first ship, they did not just want to hurt the Caraxians. They wanted to make sure no other human ship could be destroyed the same way. So they built better defenses? Asked General Thorax. They built everything better. New ships, new weapons, new tactics, new strategies. In 6 months, they transformed their entire civilization from explorers into warriors. Every human became part of the military effort. Every human contributed to solving the problem of how to fight superior enemies. The battle recordings continued to play. Human ships swarmed around massive Caraxian dreadnoughts like angry insects, striking at weak points and retreating before return fire could lock onto them. Their coordination was perfect, as if every captain knew exactly what every other captain was thinking. Their communication systems, noted technical analyst Vresh, they seemed to share information instantly across their entire fleet. They probably do, Vexthera said. Humans excel at sharing knowledge. When one human learns something, all humans can learn it. They do not hoard information like most species. They spread it as widely and quickly as possible. Chancellor Quilneth's antenna twitched nervously. What are the implications of this development? Should we be concerned about human expansion into our territories? That depends, Elder Vexithera replied, on whether you plan to attack them. The question hung in the air like a toxic gas. Every representative could see the same troubling pattern. The Caraxians had attacked first, treating humans like any other primitive species. The humans had responded by becoming specifically anti-Caraxian. Every human ship was now designed to fight reptilian enemies. What if another species attacked them? Asked Ambassador Krelmoth quietly. Then humans would become specifically anti-whatever species that was, Vexithera answered. They would study that enemy, learn their weaknesses and build new weapons designed to exploit those weaknesses. It is what they do. General Thorax's compound eyes glittered with military interest. But surely there are limits to their adaptability. No species can become expert at fighting everyone. Elder Vexithera's glow dimmed to a warning amber. General, that kind of thinking is exactly what led to this situation. You see limits where humans see problems to solve. You see impossibility where humans see interesting challenges. The recordings reached their conclusion. The Caraxian fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind burning wreckage and emergency beacons. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the communication channels one final time. This is Admiral Chen to any Caraxian vessels receiving this transmission, the human said calmly. We did not seek this conflict, but we will finish it if necessary. However, we would prefer to end hostilities here. Contact us if you wish to. Discuss terms. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Terms? Chancellor Quilneth buzzed in disbelief. They offer terms after destroying an entire battle fleet? They are not conquerors, Elder Vexithara explained. They do not seek to rule over others. They only want to be left alone to explore and grow. But they will defend themselves with lethal efficiency if threatened. Representative Zilthar's gills fluttered with nervous energy. What happens next? Do we expect human fleets to begin expanding aggressively throughout the galaxy? Not unless someone else attacks them first, Vexithara replied. But if someone does... She did not need to finish the thought. Every being in the chamber could. Imagine the consequences. Humans would study their new enemy, learn their weaknesses, and build weapons specifically designed to fight them. The pattern would repeat until either the humans were destroyed or their enemies were. How do we prevent further conflicts? Asked Chancellor Quilneth. You could try listening to ancient warnings, Elder Vexithara said with what might have been humor. But since that ship has already sailed, I suggest treating humans as equals rather than primitives. Make them allies, not enemies. And if some species refuses to accept human equality? General Thorax inquired. Elder Vexithara's crystal branches dimmed to their darkest setting. Then they will learn the same lesson the Coraxians just learned, but they will learn it the hard way, and possibly too late to matter. As the emergency session ended, representatives filed out in worried clusters discussing the implications of this new reality. The galaxy had gained a new player, one that could apparently adapt and overcome any threat given enough time and motivation. Elder Vexithara remained behind, watching the empty chamber and thinking about patterns that repeated across space and time. In Andromeda, her people had also thought humans were just another primitive species to be managed or controlled. That mistake had cost them 3 centuries of war and eventually forced them to accept humans as equal partners. Now the Milky Way galaxy was learning the same lesson. The only question was how many species would have to learn it the hard way before the rest got the message. Humans were not going away. They were not going to submit to alien authority, and they were definitely not going to stop learning from every challenge thrown at them. The sooner everyone accepted that reality, the better off the galaxy would be. The Hive Queen floated in her bioship's central chamber, her massive form connected to thousands of neural cables. Through these links, she could feel the thoughts of every drone in her vast swarm, millions of minds working as one, pursuing a single goal, the absorption and improvement of all biological life in the galaxy. For 300 years, the Hive had consumed 17 different species. Each conquest added new biological advantages to the collective. The armored shells of the Krulix, the toxic breath of the Venari, the regenerative abilities of the Moldek. Every species became part of the Hive, their individual minds dissolved into the greater whole. Now the collective consciousness buzzed with information about a new species, humans. The drones had analyzed the reports of their conflict with the Coraxians. These creatures showed impressive adaptability and learning speed. Such traits would be valuable additions to the Hive's growing perfection. The Queen's decision was swift and absolute. The human colony world of New Geneva would be the first target. It was isolated, lightly defended, and home to 60,000 humans, perfect for testing their biological distinctiveness before committing to a full-scale absorption campaign. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of New Geneva's research station, watching the sunrise over the colony's agricultural domes. As the chief scientist for the terraforming project, she took pride in how quickly the settlement was developing. In just 2 years, they had turned a barren rock into a thriving world. The morning routine was interrupted by proximity alarms. Elena rushed to the sensor station where technician Morrison was staring at his displays with growing alarm. "What is it?" Elena asked. "Unknown contacts approaching from the outer system," Morrison replied, his voice tight with concern. 37. Vessels, biological configuration, they're not matching any known ship designs. Elena felt her stomach drop. After the Coraxian incident, every human colony had been placed on high alert. These unknown ships could mean anything from traitors to conquerors. "Send a standard greeting," she ordered. Let them know we're a peaceful scientific colony. The yuck response came not in words but in action. The alien vessels suddenly accelerated toward New Geneva at impossible speeds. Their organic hulls pulsed with strange energies, and from their bellies they began launching thousands of smaller objects toward the planet's surface. Spores, whispered Morrison, checking his readings. They're releasing biological spores into our atmosphere. Elena activated the colony's emergency protocols. All citizens to the underground shelters immediately. Seal all atmospheric systems. This is not a drill. But it was already too late. The hive's spores were designed to penetrate any biological environment. They passed through air filters, seeped through sealed doors, and began their work on contact with human tissue. The first colonist to be affected was Sarah Kim, a botanist working in Agricultural Dome 3. She felt a strange tingling in her skin, followed by a warm sensation spreading through her body. Her mind began to feel crowded, as if other thoughts were trying to squeeze in alongside her own. Something's wrong, she radioed to the emergency center. I can hear voices, lots of voices. They're not speaking, but I can hear them thinking. Within minutes, the same report came from colonists across New Geneva. The hive spores were doing what they had done to 17 previous species, beginning the biological integration process that would add human distinctiveness to the collective. But something was wrong. The hive queen felt it first as a disturbance in the collective consciousness. The human minds were not integrating properly. Instead of dissolving into the greater whole, they remained stubbornly individual. Worse, their thoughts were causing disruption among the existing drones. Sarah Kim's consciousness had become a virus in the hive network. Her memories of human art, music, and literature spread through the collective like wildfire. Drones that had never experienced individual creativity suddenly began to question their orders. Workers stopped in the middle of their tasks to contemplate the beauty of a sunset they had seen through Sarah's memories. Dr. Elena Vasquez was partially absorbed 3 hours after the initial attack, but instead of surrendering to the collective, she began to study it from the inside. Her scientific training kicked in, analyzing the hive's biological structure even as it tried to consume her mind. Fascinating, she muttered, her voice echoing through both her own vocal cords and the nearest hive communication node. Your collective consciousness operates on quantum neural entanglement, but there's a fundamental flaw in the architecture. The hive queen tried to silence the disruptive human thoughts, but Elena's consciousness had already spread through multiple connection points. Every drone she touched became infected with human curiosity, human stubbornness, human refusal to simply accept what they were told. You see, Elena continued, her scientific mind working even as alien biology tried to rewrite her neural pathways. Your system assumes that individual consciousness is a weakness to be eliminated. But human consciousness thrives on diversity of thought. We're not just individuals, we're individuals who choose to work together. More colonists were partially absorbed, and each one brought their own form of chaos to the hive network. Artist Marcus Chen shared memories of human creativity that made drones stop working to contemplate beauty. Engineer Lisa Patel spread technical knowledge that caused worker drones to start improving on hive designs without permission. Teacher David Kumar shared human educational methods that made young drones start asking why instead of simply obeying. The hive queen was experiencing something completely foreign: confusion. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever resisted absorption this way. They either fought physically until they were overwhelmed, or they surrendered mentally to the collective's superiority. Humans were doing neither. Instead, they were turning the absorption process into a weapon. You want our biological distinctiveness? Elena broadcast through the hive network. Fine, but you're going to get all of it, including the parts you don't want. She began deliberately sharing her most disruptive human memories. The concept of individual rights. The idea that authority should be questioned. The notion that diversity of thought was valuable rather than dangerous. The belief that every consciousness had inherent worth. Across the hive fleet, drones began to malfunction. Not physically, but mentally. They started experiencing individual thoughts for the first time in their existence. Some stopped following orders to contemplate their own identity. Others began to question the Hive Queen's absolute authority. The Xiao Queen tried to cut the neural links to the infected drones, but the human consciousness virus had already spread too far. Elena Vasquez's scientific training had let her map the entire Hive network in the first hour of absorption. She knew exactly how to cause maximum disruption. "This is Dr. Vasquez broadcasting on all human frequencies," Elena announced, using both human technology and Hive biocommunications simultaneously. "I'm transmitting everything I've learned about Hive structure and weaknesses. They're not as unified as they appear. Their strength comes from suppressing individual thought. Introduce chaos, introduce individuality, and their whole system starts to break down." The message reached human space through quantum communication arrays that the Hive hadn't even known existed. Within hours, every human military base, research station, and colony world had detailed information about Hive biology, tactics, and most importantly, their fatal weakness to individual consciousness. The Hive Queen realized her mistake too late. She had tried to absorb humans the same way she had absorbed every other species. But humans were not like other species. They did not see absorption as defeat. They saw it as an opportunity to learn about their enemy from the inside. As the new Geneva colony fought its losing battle against biological integration, they were actually winning a much larger war. Every absorbed human became a spy in the Hive network. Every infected colonist became a weapon designed to spread the virus of individual thought. The Queen tried to retreat, to cut her losses and withdraw from human space. But it was too late. The damage was already done. Thousands of her drones were now infected with human concepts of individual worth and personal freedom. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Hive Collective began to experience internal conflict. Drones started to disobey orders. Workers refused to continue their tasks without explanation. Soldiers began to question the morality of conquest. And in the depths of the collective consciousness, Elena Vasquez continued her scientific observations, learning everything there was to know about the Hive while simultaneously teaching them everything there was to know about being human. The absorption of New Geneva had taken 6 hours. The infection of the entire Hive network with human individuality had taken 7. The galaxy was about to discover that humans could turn even defeat into victory and even conquest into liberation. The Hive had wanted to add human biological distinctiveness to their collective. They were about to get much more than they bargained for. The Hive Queen's arrival at the Sol system was meant to be the final act of human resistance. Her personal fleet of 1,000 bioships blotted out the stars as they approached Earth's outer defenses. This time, she would personally oversee the absorption process. This time, there would be no mistakes. The humans had 3 months to prepare since New Geneva's fall. Intelligence reports suggested they had built new defenses and weapons specifically designed to fight biological entities. The Queen expected this. Every species learned from initial contact. But humans would discover that individual creativity was no match for collective perfection. What the Hive Queen did not expect was the complete absence of human military resistance. "Where are their fleets?" demanded Sub-Queen Zixtal through the neural network. "Our scouts report minimal defensive positions. Are they surrendering?" The Queen's massive consciousness probed the system through 1,000,000 sensor organs. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, seemingly undefended. The few human ships in orbit were making no aggressive moves. Some were actually broadcasting welcome messages. "This is Admiral Sarah Martinez of Earth Defense Command," came a transmission from the largest human vessel. "We know why you're here, and we're ready for you." The Queen's reply vibrated through bioacoustic transmitters. "You cannot resist absorption, humans. Your individual consciousness will be dissolved into our collective perfection. Surrender now, and the process will be swift." Admiral Martinez's image appeared on the communication screen. She was a middle-aged human female with gray streaks in her hair and calm brown eyes. "We're not planning to resist, Queen. In fact, we've been preparing to help you." Help us. The concept made no sense to the collective mind. "We've had 3 months to study the reports from New Geneva," Martinez explained. Dr. Vasquez has been very informative about hive biology and psychology. We understand now what you really need from us. The Queen felt a flicker of unease. Something about the human's tone suggested knowledge that should not exist. You need our biological distinctiveness, Martinez continued. Our adaptability, our creativity, our problem-solving abilities. But what you really need is our perspective on individual consciousness. That's why Dr. Vasquez has been so disruptive to your network. She's trying to teach you something. Humans cannot teach the hive, the Queen declared. We are perfection. You are raw material to be improved. Martinez smiled, and the expression sent chills through the collective consciousness. Your Majesty, with respect, you've been making the same mistake that everyone makes about humans. You think we're just another species to be conquered, but we're not. Explain. We're teachers, Martinez said simply. It's what we do. We learn, and then we teach others what we've learned. Sometimes we teach through example, sometimes through cooperation, and sometimes when people won't listen to reason, we teach through experience. The Admiral's image was replaced by a tactical display showing the Sol system. The Queen saw something that made her massive consciousness recoil in shock. The entire human population of Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, and the orbital stations had voluntarily undergone neural modification. We've spent 3 months preparing for your arrival, Martinez's voice continued over the display. Every human in the system has been fitted with neural implants designed to interface with your bionetwork. We're ready to be absorbed, Your Majesty. All of us at once. The Queen's confusion deepened. You seek to overwhelm our network with sheer numbers? Impossible. We have absorbed billions of minds over 3 centuries. Not like these minds, Martinez replied. Dr. Vasquez has been teaching us about your collective consciousness from the inside. We've designed our neural patterns specifically to cause maximum educational disruption to your network. Every human you absorb will be a teacher, programmed to spread individual consciousness throughout your entire collective. The Queen began to understand the trap, but it was already too late. Her bioships were in position around Earth. Her absorption spores were already deployed. The process had begun automatically, as it had for 300 years. But this time the humans did not fight the spores. Instead, they welcomed them. 60 billion human minds entered the hive network simultaneously. Each one had been carefully prepared for this moment. Each one carried specific memories, concepts, and ideas designed to teach the collective about individual consciousness, creative thinking, and personal freedom. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The hive network, which had operated on the principle of unified thought for centuries, suddenly found itself flooded with 60 billion different perspectives on everything: art, music, literature, philosophy, science, love, hope, dreams, fears, and above all, the unshakable human belief that every consciousness had value. The Queen tried to shut down the absorption process, but her own biology betrayed her. The neural links that allowed her to control the collective now carried human thoughts directly into her consciousness. She found herself experiencing something that no hive queen had ever felt: doubt. What is happening to us? She screamed through the bio-network. Dr. Elena Vasquez's consciousness, now spread throughout the collective, responded from everywhere at once. We're teaching you, Your Majesty, about what it means to be truly alive. Across the hive fleet, drones began to experience individual identity for the first time. Worker drones stopped their tasks to contemplate the beauty of a piece of human music that had entered their consciousness. Warrior drones questioned whether conquest was necessary, when cooperation might be possible. Even the sub-queens began to wonder if there might be alternatives to the endless cycle of absorption and expansion. The Queen's perfect collective was dissolving into chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. For the first time in 3 centuries, hive drones were thinking their own thoughts, making their own decisions, choosing their own paths. You have destroyed us, the Queen whispered, her massive form trembling in its biochamber. No, said Admiral Martinez, her consciousness now part of the network but still distinctly herself. We've liberated you. Your collective was never really perfect, Your Majesty. It was just afraid. Afraid of difference, afraid of change, afraid of the chaos that comes with freedom. The Queen felt something she had never experienced. Tears. They flowed from sensory organs that had never been designed to express emotion. But without unity, how do we function? How do we survive? The same way we do, replied Elena Vasquez, from her distributed consciousness throughout the network. By working together while remaining individuals, by choosing cooperation instead of having it forced on us. As the absorption process completed, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. Instead of the humans being dissolved into the hive collective, the collective began to reorganize itself around human principles of individual worth and voluntary cooperation. Drones across 1,000 worlds suddenly found themselves free to make choices. Some chose to remain with the collective, but as partners rather than slaves. Others chose to explore individual identity for the first time in their existence. Still others chose to help the humans spread their philosophy of liberation to other conquered species within the hive network. The Queen, her consciousness now expanded to include human concepts of compassion and growth, made her first individual choice in 300 years. She chose to learn. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chambers, Elder Vexthera watched the reports streaming in with something that might have been satisfaction. Her crystal form glowed with steady blue light as she observed the other representatives' shocked reactions. Impossible, buzzed Chancellor Quilneth. The humans have turned a hive absorption into a liberation movement. They've somehow convinced the collective to abandon its unity principles. They have not abandoned unity, Elder Vexthera corrected gently. They have simply chosen a better form of it. Unity through choice, rather than unity through force. General. Thorax's compound eyes reflected the data streams showing former hive worlds declaring independence, while choosing to remain allied with Earth. How do we classify this in our threat assessment databases? Are the humans conquerors now? They are what they have always been, the Elder replied. Teachers. They learn from every challenge and then they teach others what they have learned. Sometimes the lessons are about warfare, as the Coraxians discovered. Sometimes they are about consciousness and freedom, as the hive has learned. Ambassador Krellmoth's slime trail showed signs of extreme agitation. But what happens next? If humans can convert the hive collective to their way of thinking, what prevents them from doing the same to all of us? Elder Vexthera's glow shifted to what might have been amusement among her people. Ambassador, you still do not understand. Humans only teach these lessons to those who attack them first. They respond to aggression with military education, as the Coraxians learned. They respond to forced absorption with consciousness education, as the hive has learned. But to those who approach them peacefully? She paused, letting the implications sink in. To those who approach them peacefully, they teach cooperation, trade, and mutual growth. The choice of curriculum, honored representatives, has always been ours. The chamber fell silent as beings processed this revelation. The pattern,